Casinos take many shapes and sizes in the Star Wars universe, to single tables to full-on destination planets. So let's take a look at some casinos across the galaxy. Notable places like Cloud City, where the top 50 levels of the city were designated as luxury resorts, and they were renowned for their famous casinos on Cloud City on the planet Bespin. And Corosuant, also similar to Bespin, has many levels dedicated to luxury resorts, especially in the entertainment districts. And planets like Niamos have lovely beaches and casinos to go aside them. And of course, we are all familiar with the casino planet Canto or Canto byte, where just about the only population on the planet is there for the Canto byte casino and racetrack. With racetracks, I would consider them part of a casino, but not the main focus. So on a planet like Tatooine, where they host pod racing, I wouldn't necessarily say that Jabba the Hutt and his palace is a casino, but yes, there is gambling. I would say for it to be a casino, you have to be playing cards or slots like sabacc. Yes, on Tatooine and other places like Ord Mantell where they have riot racing, there is plenty of gambling, but there may not be a designated main casino like in the other planets I just listed. Same thing could be said for gladiatorial arenas. I don't necessarily think a single fight pit makes that a casino, but yes, there is gambling, but a overall casino on Canto byte or Coruscant may have a gladiatorial arena as part of the casino. An interesting gray space between the full-on resort casinos and house gambling, I would say, is capital ships that have been turned into casinos, for example, the Murenia. Introduced in Star Wars Outlaws as the high-stakes sabacc game, the Murenia is a capital ship that purely serves as a casino, being completely ran by droids as EYE9 basically runs the ship and has more or less converted it into underworld sabacc games or criminal sabacc games. And one thing I think is pretty interesting about the Murenia is that they do keep it in hyperspace most of the time while the tournaments are being held, mainly to evade the Empire. I would also think keeping it in hyperspace constantly also keeps it away from any raiders, as they only make pre-designated stops to pick up contestants for the sabacc games. But nonetheless, the Murenia is a pretty cool ship in the Star Wars universe. I do wish it had a little bit of a better design, as it is a, casino ship. I think it would have a little bit more pizzazz to it, but it's a pretty simple ship, and it was repurposed to become the casino in space. Other large ships that I could describe as a casino potentially is Dryden Voss's First Light, his luxury yacht. It's of a decent size, definitely a little bit smaller than the Murenia, but you could definitely host a large number of people there for a sabacc game and kind of have the house casino be Crimson Dawn, as it was Dryden Voss's mobile headquarters he used his yacht, the First Light, for. So we don't have any notable cases of any casino houses being ran from the First Light, but I'm sure there definitely is some gambling happening on his ship. I would also consider certain space stations to be casinos, like the Surya Space Station, which is a large outpost for outlaws, assassins, and bounty hunters, being more or less ran by Vanguard Access, so all droids. And droids do play an interesting part in casinos, and I'll be getting to that in a bit. But I think in this case, because it is a larger space station where a lot of people do come and go or completely live out of the space station, and it being at least a little bit more resorty, I do consider the Surya Space Station a destination casino spot, more or less for the deep criminal underworld, as opposed to Canto byte, which is for the galaxy's rich and wealthy and famous. Another space station would be the Becahes Hotel and Casino, another space station that is fully designated for entertainment and luxury purposes. I do think it's interesting that this is being ran by the Hutts, and it kind of proves my point that if on Tatooine, if they wanted to have a casino, they would have a big grandiose casino, but kind of outsource that to independent space stations like Becahes Hotel and Casino that the Hutts can control and have a floating casino. And like I said, just about every single planet in the Star Wars universe has a place where you can at least play sabacc, whether that's in a cantina or a nightclub. Gambling exists all over the Star Wars universe. But again, I think what designates a casino is kind of that resort with a hotel or more large amenities and attractions, as opposed to just walking into a cantina and playing sabacc. One thing I do think is interesting that is a similarity between these two, from the large casinos to the single table, is the droids that are often involved with casino work. I talked about EYE9, who was the head of the casino cruiser the Morenia in Star Wars Outlaws. I definitely think her backstory is pretty interesting, as she started off as just a simple protocol droid, and as more and more organic employees were replaced, and EYE9 being one of the legacy droids there, she slowly began to take it over and began running the casino for profit optimization, which again more or less converted the Morenia into a underworld casino tournament ship. Other protocol droids and some sentient creatures can be seen at casinos operating the table, or droids can be seen being the enforcers or police for the larger casinos at resort destinations. Typically for single houses at cantinas, you're going to have a gunman or a bounty hunter as your muscle, but for more luxury resorts like on Canto, byte, service droids and protocol droids are more common, just again as service or protocol droids, but the SE8 waiter droid is something we see at fancier locations like at Canto, byte, or on Dryden Voss's first light luxury yacht. I also tried looking to see if there was any slot droids or anything that, slots in casinos, if there's any designated or specific droids for that. One scene I do think is interesting in The Last Jedi is when BB-8 is on Kankatica and someone is trying to put a coin into him, indicating that there may be slot droids or droids that are kind of like portable slot machines. But I don't see anything in the Star Wars Wiki, and even looking at some of the footage from Canto, byte, it looks like these slot machines are just machines, not droids. Not saying that there can't be droids that are slot machines, but at least from what I see, there are no designated droids as slots. The opposite can be said for table games like sabacc. Almost everywhere you go across the galaxy, when you see sabacc, there is a dealer droid. This is true on Morenia, this is true in single cantinas, this is true at some of the biggest casinos in the Star Wars universe. And there's no official name for any of these dealer droids. Obviously they have to be programmed with the rules and regulations of sabacc and kind of are the neutral card player or the house for the casinos and for a lot of these, but a lot of organics don't end up dealing the cards. It is almost always a dealer droid dealing out all of the cards, and I'm sure that there are different variations of this droid as well per each casino or location, or older and newer models across the galaxy. And there's got to be other table games that you can play that are operated by droids, which makes me think that if you want to start a casino at a cantina, all it would take is a simple dealer droid and you can start playing sabacc at your local cantina. So it's the same playing field for the larger casinos and the house casinos at smaller locations. But nonetheless, there certainly are a lot of cool locations across the galaxy that host casinos or gambling areas in the Star Wars universe. I've got a couple other videos kind of touching certain points like racetracks if you want to check that out. But nonetheless, that is casinos inside the Star Wars universe. Remember to comment down below, subscribe if you'd like, and until next video, goodbye.